Hey guys, and welcome to Thanks Sue. This is our comeback episode.
Woo.
Woo.
Woo!
We've talked a bit about TV and a bit about where we've been in the past few months. It's a bit of a ride, but if you're ready to ride this with us, then go on.
I love how it's like we're going to talk about TV and where we've been. And where we've been is mostly watching Netflix and being sad because we're jobless.
If you're interested in that, keep listening, and hopefully we'll be back on a regular basis. So,
no promises. Follow us on Twitter.
7 months before we come back.
We're never coming back.
This is our comeback and final episode. I was unemployed, recently got a job. Very proud of myself.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I really wanted to talk about was like job interviews and about like what's been going on with us, because obviously like we haven't put out an episode in so long. Also, this year has been like a lot for both of us, hasn't it?
It's been a big one, yeah. A lot happened towards the end, which I think skewed, because when I looked back after New Year, my mum was like, how do you think 2019 went? And I literally just looked at her and went, shit. Like there was like so much good happened in 2019. Like I went to Florida, I got to see like Disneyland and Universal. Like me and Nathan, our 2-year anniversary was last year.
Oh.
We moved in properly together. We got away from like a bad landlord and found a place that we really felt at home and stuff. So like so much happened last year that I should be proud of. But the last 3 months of the year skewed my view of it so much that I was like, it was a shit year, nothing good happened.
Yeah, so Ben was working in the games industry, and then kind of like talk about the process, but obviously not too specific that it might be you uncomfortable, but
No, it's not uncomfortable. I think that it was hard early on because it was like everyone knew that I was in a job, especially like family and friends who don't really understand the games industry. They were like, oh, Ben's doing exactly what he wants to do, and you come home for Christmas and they're all like, so what, how's your job going? You're like, I'm fired.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like, the thing is, we were never fired. It was just another set
for a smallish kind of company.
And
it was your first job out of uni. You've been there for like a year and
I did very much. I enjoyed the people there and I enjoyed the job. I wouldn't have left right now.
No.
But looking back on it, I think it was the right time to leave. And I think I've really made a big upwards trajectory. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you've kind of stepped up with the new job that you're going into, but it was a tricky time. Like, how long has it been now? Like a few months? Because the company closed down, January, right? Start of January?
Yeah, well, end of December. But because of Christmas holidays, it was like mid-December because we were all off from like the 20th till like the 1st anyway, and then we just didn't come back.
So like the company entirely closed down.
I don't know how much I can say about it, but I'm just going to put it down to another one of those sort of like, because it wasn't just me. It wasn't like, Ben, you're fired, you're the worst.
But
it was like I am the worst. Hire me.
Hire her.
I don't need to anymore. And also, I think, as I've said to you before, it was nice to have obviously it's not nice to have you go through a bad time, but going through a bad time at the same time together.
Yeah.
When I had bad stuff, and because Nathan's like on a completely different time scale to me at this point, I get to talk to him for an hour a day max.
Yeah.
So it's like it's hard to fit like what's going on at all points.
Yeah, because I'm in kind of a situation where like I've come back after uni and now I've moved out from my families again, and I was just kind of not stuck, but it's just like I was working kind of a dead-end, really boring job that wasn't using any of my skills. And it was kind of a situation where I needed to get out and find something. However, the city that I'm living in doesn't have a ton of opportunities for...
In the field that you want to go into.
Yeah, because I'm kind of interested in community management and online marketing and stuff like that. And that was something that there isn't a ton of opportunities around here for. And also, because I'd studied game art, I was like, I don't know how to apply for these positions. And I'd obviously like contacted friends and gone through trying to put together a resume. But oh my God, going for jobs nowadays is so much harder. I remember, obviously, this probably sounds very boomery, but just like, I remember when I was younger and I first started out going for jobs and stuff, and obviously these are lesser paying jobs, and this was like a few years ago, but you would just this is so boomer, but like you'd go hand out resumes, you'd impress someone because you seem kind of responsible and like you're taking initiative, and then you'd be in the next day. Whereas
like, I think that we were on we're that age range that's like towards the end of that though. Like I remember being 16 and people were still doing that, and then by the time I was like 18, no one was doing that. It was no one even accepted applications. They just tell you to go home and apply online.
And then applying online is a fucking disaster. Like both, I've looked at jobs for you and stuff and tried to send you things as well. So I know that looking for your positions is so difficult because you can get multiple listings on Google or on any website, and then it turns out you actually go on it and the deadline date's passed. Or
I think one of the weirdest ones for me was I applied through a recruitment agency for a certain job. And then like 25 minutes after I applied through the recruitment agency, a person at that company messaged me and was like, hey, we have this job open, do you want to apply for it? And because I'd sent it through a recruitment agency, they weren't telling me what company it was for. Because a lot of recruitment agencies are just like, hey, there's this job in this area, and they don't tell you who it's for, because then you can just bypass the recruitment agency and go straight to that person's website and apply straight there. And then they don't get fees and stuff.
It always starts off with, this is a position at a AAA company that is well established, and it's just like 7 listings saying the same kind of thing.
So that's the thing. So I applied for a job there, and then and my reference, my like cover letter and stuff was quite vague because obviously I didn't know who I was applying to.
No, it's really difficult.
And at that point, I was just kind of like, I'll send it out. The job sounds great from the descriptions. So I'll send in a thing. I don't care if it comes back positive or negative because I don't know who it's for. So then my friend messaged me being like, hey, there's a job in this company, and it was a company that I wanted to work for. So I replied to him and sent him my CV. And then I got an email back from them being like, hey, you're not allowed to apply for jobs twice in the same 6 months. And I was like, I haven't applied twice. And they were like, oh, no, we got one through the recruitment agency. And then I got like rejected like the day after.
And you're just like, how am I supposed to know?
I was like, well, I didn't. Okay, whatever. It was a very strange experience because it was kind of just like, oh.
It's so many hoops. It is so many hoops. Like, and then oftentimes you don't hear anything back. So you could work on doing like a customized resume to send out to a place, and then you won't hear anything back at all.
Well, do you know what's actually super interesting? Not even interesting, just like common sense kind of. But it was, so I applied for several environment art jobs. And if you don't know, I am going into work. I used to be a 3D generalist, and now I'm going into work as a specific VFX artist, which is what I've wanted to do.
He fancy.
I'm very excited to start doing because when I was a 3D generalist, I'd like do the environment work and be kind of like, okay, this is fun, whatever. But then when someone would come up to me and be like, we need VFX, I'd be like, bitch. Yeah, exactly.
The thing is, you've always said that, even since when you were at university.
Exactly. But I thought early on, I think because of the SUE in the course, we didn't learn a lot of VFX in the course.
We didn't learn anything really. I think I had one lesson on it.
To be fair, I taught myself most stuff, and then had a really good tutor to help with the technical aspects of it. So but so ending uni, my brain was like, don't apply for VFX. People just don't, I don't have the skills. I do have the skills to be environment art. And then when I got the environment art job, I was like, sure, I guess this is where I'm going.
Well, no, you were happy about it though, weren't you?
Yes, I was very happy about it. And like at the end of the day, I think it's because the job I got first was a 3D generalist, not an environment artist. And whilst I'd be doing mostly environment stuff, it was a small company that expected me to also do VFX and shaders.
So you were wearing a lot of different hats.
Whereas now I want to wear one hat. the hat that I know that I enjoy.
But the thing, I love this hat so fucking much.
It's a good hat.
But the thing is, I think maybe really it's a good thing for you because then you get an idea of what everyone's doing. I always think that it's really interesting when people start out in smaller companies because I feel like you get a feel for what everyone else is doing, and then also there's kind of more opportunities because there's not always someone to do a specific role, so you can do other things as well.
Yeah, sure. And also, I think it's a really good place to start because and then you don't, but then you don't get fired because you can do other things. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you can make yourself more valuable.
Yeah. So as I was saying, what's interesting, a lot of the environment art roles I was applying for, they'd be I'd get a reply and they'd be like, yeah, like a few of them came back and they were like, yeah, we like your work. We don't really have space because they were speculative applications and stuff. And they were like, we'll keep you on the register and stuff like that. That's great. But they wouldn't give me specific feedback ever. And those ones, I guess, were fine because they were ready to accept me if they had space.
Yeah.
So I didn't need feedback for them.
No.
But a lot of the rejections that I got rejections and they'd just be like straight rejections, no feedback. And then one company, not going to name the company. I told you about this.
Yeah, I know. I know exactly what you're saying.
They replied and they said they refuse to give feedback to applicants who don't get through to the interview process because they like to give feedback in an interview process and judge reaction on it, which makes sense.
It does make sense. It does make sense.
But that makes sense to me, as in like, why couldn't you give criticism to them on their work, but give criticism to other applicants that ask for it on their portfolio and like application as a whole? Like, why couldn't you tell me what was wrong with my CV, cover letter, anything that, you know, didn't add up and stuff?
Yeah, or just very specific. Look,
right.
This particular part of your work is not up to par with the kind of work that we're looking for. This particular bit, and if you did this and this and this, in the future, also, we might consider you.
What harm if I'm not going for the interview? Why is the harm in giving me the? Because you're not going to find out if I. Because do you know, like they're trying to test you on thingy, but why can't you just get? I don't know. It confused me massively. I thought it was a very weird way to do things.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, the VFX jobs I applied for, if I got a rejection in VFX, every single company replied to me with software recommendations, ideas to improve my work, what I should be learning and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I took all of that into consideration, started learning Houdini,
and that's
got into contact with a few people, and then ended up with, do you know how insane it is just to give someone feedback? How like little time these companies gave me, and it ended up with 3 weeks later I had a job in VFX.
Yeah. And it's just, I think the thing is, at the end of the day, is all those little criticisms and stuff help. And especially if you're in industry, you can spot those things straight away. It's not like you have to pore over someone's work for half an hour. And I know those people are busy, but also like if someone really desperately would like it or is getting in contact with you specifically about it or has applied a few times already, it can be really helpful. Because they just may not see it and you might be able to because you're already working at that place.
It's insane because in my last job, as I said, I was a 3D generalist doing environment art. So in terms of the environment art stuff, when I had my work, I could see a lot of the stuff that was wrong with it industry-wise.
Yeah.
That's why I was doing projects to like buff up that, you know, would help me be an environment artist. And then but the things I couldn't see were VFX because a lot of mine was self-taught. And since I was the only one of the few artists at my company that did VFX, there was one actual VFX artist, but he was a contract one, so we didn't have him for long. So like all the feedback I was getting was like good because I didn't know where I was going wrong a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And then I fixed it. It was good. Do you know, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just feel like
it's really hard. And I just feel like there should be more feedback for things like that. Because like,
I
still am very burned by a few companies that I applied to. And although I felt like I don't have everything that you're looking for. However, I have a fair few bits of it and a lot of enthusiasm for what this is. It would have been so helpful. I did always ask to get some feedback on what they're looking for or maybe something to improve. Like for this particular role that I'm interested in, would you have been more interested in me if I'd had more like email customer service kind of thing, if I had managed like a brand Twitter, if I had done this or that, what particularly did I not have that could have pushed me over the edge? That would have been really helpful.
Yeah. Also, I think one of the ones that got one of the big things that gets me is that the game industry is quite elusive to get into. And it has this like stigma of like, you need the background, you need the contacts, all that. And it's not like that. But
I think
when
it's
you don't
not
give
like
people
that
feedback and you don't give people help to get in, you push this even more. Yeah. And it's like, how can we be an industry that's inviting stuff when we don't invite everyone? And I'm not asking to give every single person in the world an interview. I'm not saying give every single person in the world feedback. I'm just saying automated emails are the devil and they should be abolished.
Yeah. And I guess it's tricky because around this time of year, a lot of people that we know that are in university and stuff, they're applying everywhere. So they must be getting so many applications, so many people from the same place, so many people with the same degree, the same projects that they've done. Like, yeah, I completely understand that side of things. Yeah.
Did you want to talk about Sabrina on the pod, by the way? Because I've only just started season 2, so I can't really give thoughts on it.
Oh, you've watched season 1, right? And the thing is, I haven't watched the entirety of season 2 because I didn't like it.
I paused episode 1. I've got 20 minutes left of episode 1 to go.
Okay. I know anyway, isn't it really a big spoiler? But about Sabrina season 1 anyway, I absolutely loved it so much. I thought the style was really cool. I thought like the outfits and stuff they wore, I would be like Googling, hello, I need a velvet dress with a lace.
Yeah, exactly.
A lace collar immediately. And like I was like, Harry, do you think I can get away with wearing a headband? And Harry was like, no.
What if I dyed my hair platinum blonde and got a bob?
What's wrong with it? I love how her big sign of like the fact that she is now like a proper witch in like...
Is that she wears black.
Yeah, and she's got like a deal hair with the devil going on, is that she's like, I've dyed my hair slightly blonder.
Yeah. I watched, the only reason I've started watching this again is because I finished Glee.
Yeah.
Which was actually, I think the last season of Glee was a mess. I
never watched the last season of Glee. I only watched it when it was like the hot new thing when I was young.
Well, that's the thing. So up until season 5, I was super into it. It wasn't the most incredible TV, but it was like inclusive, and it kind of at a certain point, it kind of stopped taking itself so seriously and actually got like really funny.
Okay.
Like I was actually laughing during season 4 and 5. And then it's obvious.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's obvious that season 6, they knew that it was ending because season 6 only has 10 episodes or 13. And the first 11 are trying to introduce new characters. And then it just suddenly, like the last 2, just completely forget about the new characters, go back to the original cast, and you have a flashback episode to why everyone joined in the first place.
Oh.
And then a flash forward episode to what these people are doing now, and then the season ends.
Oh.
I think what happened was they expected to get another 3-season contract, and then were told they weren't getting it, so they had to finish the whole thing in one go.
The thing is, I feel like it went on for years, didn't it? So you're kind of catching up on it because it didn't recently end, did it? It ended a while ago.
Yeah. So the final episodes were set in, because the flash forward episode was 2020, and that was a 5-year flash forward. So 2015 was when it was filmed, I think.
Okay, right. So because people still watch it quite a lot, because I still see a lot of tweets and stuff about it, and obviously you're watching it. But then again, you've got nothing to do at the moment.
Well, yeah, but I think that the thing is, when you look back, this show went for 6 seasons. You got, I think it started in 2012 or 2011.
That would make sense because I remember I was like doing my GCSEs and stuff at the time when it first
I did watch season 1 when it came out.
Yeah, and everyone was like posing with like L's on their forehead because that was like the whole Glee thing.
I remember that. Yeah,
cringe, very cringe.
The thing is, I don't think that happens in the show.
It happens for their marketing thing, because the L was the
sure.
L in Glee, but it was like, haha, they're losers.
Yeah.
But
See,
Glee losers.
Well, it obviously, though, it started out, didn't it, off the, like, I guess the success of High School Musical.
Yeah, I think so. About
And
the
then
time
it
that
was like,
ended.
Well, that's the thing. I think what happened was High School Musical did really well for our age range at the time. And then a few years later, they were like, well, these kids are more grown up and they all grew up with High School Musical. Yeah. Let's try and aim to them a similar thing that's a bit more like their speed.
Ooh.
And I think that's where Glee came from.
It started raining here, so I wonder in the background of the recording, you're going to hear like rain. I don't know.
Oh, maybe. Ooh. We are currently experiencing Storm Ciara?
I don't know. Is it Sierra? Is it Kira? Let me have a look, actually.
Stormy.
Also, tell me what you thought about Sabrina season 1. Like, what did you think?
I liked it.
Yeah.
I have like a soft spot for anything like emo, gothic. You know, that sort of. But like, I think I think
Harry does too. That's just like kind of a good. Nice
for me though, I think I can't go like full horror film. I can't watch like a horror series. But I think recently I watched that Lock and Key, and that's a similar vibe. Okay,
so
I'm not spoiling it. I'm not spoiling. Yeah, so I think what drew me to that and Sabrina was it's this kind of like it's like horror thriller, but like campy, almost. It's like horror thriller, but like fantasy, unbelievable, like stupid magic.
Yeah, it knows itself. It's like, ooh, believable, but also like, it's like kind of like not Doctor Who, but like the kind of thing where it's like we know that it's not ridiculous, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think I like that because it's so like it could be scary, it could be like legitimately spooky and weird, but I could like leave the show being like not scared because it's so unbelievable that I'm just like, oh yeah. And I think also there's a sort of like reference to old timey like monster movies that I really, really like. Like I liked in Sabrina that the devil doesn't look good. He looks like a fucking.
Because I watched it when it first came out, and I watched it within a week because Harry watched it really quickly and I watched it really quickly.
We watched it at the same time. Yeah. Well, that's the thing.
Didn't we? We spoke about it last year.
The devil's like, he's like a goat. He's a big goat head with like, and it looks so dumb. It's literally just a man in a costume, and you can know it's a man in a costume, and it's so like old monster movie-esque. And I really like that about it. Yeah, and I really like that whole aesthetic of like spooky darkness. Also, this is just a man with like a shrimp head on, and he wants to attack me. Yeah. It kind of reminds you of like older TV shows when you were growing up that seem like really creepy, but you look back on them, you're like, oh, actually that's a little bit like not campy, but like well, I think it also
it's like set. Like you can see that it's a set, you can see that it's not real, it's not
exactly
trying to be realistic.
I think also when I was younger I used to be terrified of Doctor Who. I was really scared of the Slovene because my uncle was bald. And I thought that because he was bald, that he had to keep his hair off, so he was a Slovene. And I was terrified of that. And I remember my mum telling me when I was like, I was like 7, like really, really young. And I was going to bed, and my mum was like, if you're ever scared about these things, you've just got to remember that at the end of the day, these monsters go and they take their costumes off and have a bacon butty with the rest of the cast.
They have a bacon butty with the rest of the cast.
And I think the idea of like people in costumes doing these things attracts me more than big CGI monster stuff.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I think both have a really cool place in the world anyway, because I love watching all those people behind all the costumes and stuff like come up with them. Like I love watching like, do you watch Adam Savage?
No.
Do you know who he is?
No. I've heard the name, but I don't know what he does.
He's one of the guys from Mythbusters. He's one of the guys from I have a lisp now.
I love Mythbusters.
He's one of the guys from Mythbusters. Yeah, so he's from that. And I never really watched that TV show because I think it's mostly Americans or people that seek those out. I need to at some point, but I just haven't ever gotten around to it. But
Sure.
he puts up like a ton of YouTube content and he makes his own costumes and he goes around to conventions and he's like in disguise in the
Okay.
costumes and stuff.
Sure.
And he's done so many really cool realistic ones. And then he's also gone on to like used to be doing like props and stuff.
Yeah.
Which is really, really cool. There's so many cool videos, and I think they're really interesting if you're like into game art and stuff, because it's like that, but in your hands, in person.
Yeah.
Cool.
I get that. Originally, before I became a game artist, I really wanted to do costume and prop design for like theatre.
Ooh, yeah.
I thought that was like my backup plan, and I think a lot of people have like a similar sort of like, oh, if I can't do game art, I'll just make it in real life.
Yeah, I think there's like a whole array of jobs that are around game art that you could do like in person. Like you could, if you wanted to do like architecture, or like I know that our friend Paris was considering doing like makeup artistry and stuff for films.
Yeah.
So she considered doing that, and I was like, oh no, I'd rather like do like game stuff. But there's so many parts to game art that are actual real life jobs. Like, so for Dishonored and stuff like that, what was really interesting about the second Dishonored game was that they brought on a ton of like real live artists, like fashion designers who'd never worked in games before, and then brought them in and got them to design the costumes. Whereas in most video games, you just have one dude that's like, yeah, I'm doing the character design, and this guy looks great in a hoodie. Whereas they'd like brought in actual people.
Yeah, and I think that's good to break out into that sort of stuff. I remember
good, but it's also scary, isn't it? Like, especially if you're in game art, because you're like, oh, but that's the part that I like doing as well.
Yeah, but also one of the reasons I ended up doing like makeup and stuff like that in my spare time was because early in the course we did character projects, and I found it easy to learn painting faces by watching like natural makeup tutorials.
Oh,
so I learned
like
where to, because people would, because obviously when you're trying to do like a natural makeup tutorial, you're just trying to trick people into thinking you're in good lighting at all times. So you put in shadows where you want shadows and highlights where you want highlights. So I learned how to like shade faces by looking through. So a lot of the people that I draw end up really pretty. But
I think that's a lot of people though. Like the amount of times you go on ArtStation, or even going on Instagram and stuff nowadays, and you scroll down and it's a billion girls with freckles and a perfect highlight on their nose, and I've literally just realised this while saying it, that cropped up in art a lot more and more and more. And then now with the rise of like Instagram influencers and stuff, girls put that kind of makeup on their face to then post online when they wouldn't necessarily go out looking like that. Isn't that interesting?
I know what you mean.
And I guess it's probably from seeing those illustrations and stuff that they're like, oh, I want to look like that online. It's interesting because have you seen those? I think we spoke about it on the pod once, where we were talking about those Instagram accounts that look real, but they're actually like CGI.
Michaela and whatever her name is.
And I guess because of those two things I said it before about the illustrations and then girls kind of trying to look like that and live up to that is why those CGI things fit in so well, because of the amount of people that are editing and stuff. Anyway, that was a fun little TED Talk from me, Charis Reed.
Thank you for coming to our TED Talk. Goodbye.
Bye.
Look under Sabrina. Your seats. So the season one, I liked the aesthetic. I liked the I thought the story was stupid fun. It had like this weird sort of like, there's actual murder going on and sacrifice, and you see like a load of like obviously fake blood, which adds to the whole like old monster movie type thing. And then on top of that, you have like the teen drama of it all.
It was just so good. It was just like this perfect mix of things, and I really, really loved it. And I remember it was being over. I think I spoke to both you and Harry about it, and I was like, oh, I need it. I need more of it. And then season 2 came out, and I was immediately like, clicked on it, and it came out a while ago now, I think. And
season 3 is currently already out. So
I didn't even know.
Yeah, I'm backlogged now.
Oh shit. But so the second season came out. I watched the first episode and I was like, oh, this isn't what I wanted. It was like they realized their audience and then they started playing up to their audience, if that makes sense.
I can't really tell currently because, as I said, it's an hour episode and I've still got 20 minutes, so I'm literally only halfway through the first episode of season 2 currently.
Yeah.
I haven't seen season 2. I also haven't seen anything on season 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Because I legitimately just didn't realize it came out and watched a load of other things. Because I'm pretty sure season 2 came out around the same time as the new Stranger Things.
Oh, probably because
maybe. I don't know.
I don't know.
I also haven't watched a lot of Netflix recently. Until like today, I've had like this big binge of like catching up on everything. As I said, I finished Glee. I watched season 2 of Sex Education. And
that's what Harry's currently on.
Oh, it's for the last like 4 episodes, I've just cried.
I haven't seen it, so I have no idea what you're on about.
You haven't seen Sex Education?
No, I heard a lot. I remember you talking about how you didn't know what time it was set in, you didn't know where it was set. And then I think
that's an interesting thing, but then also I think that the plot points and stuff don't really need a time or setting, because even though they touch on LGBT issues and they touch on like asexuality and stuff, there's no prejudice against it in the world that they're in. You don't get any like there's a bully. There's a guy who bullies someone for being gay and stuff, but that's just like high school, whatever. But in general, I don't think that the issues and plot that they're bringing up requires a specific time or setting. It's kind of just like any middle class area. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know. I heard you say that. And then also like I saw some of the advertisements and stuff. And I was like, the way that I felt about it was like, I'm not 16. I don't want to see people. I don't know. I felt like I don't want to see people that are more stupid than me or that are figuring stuff out with sex and listen to that and watch that. I was just kind of like, does that make sense? Like, I'm not going to learn anything by watching it. It's just going to frustrate me.
Yeah, sure.
Because I'm just going to be like, well, just get the idea of it. Just get a grip. just like,
I guess so.
Like, just make out with that person or don't make out with them. Like, they're younger than me, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So
yeah, they're all meant to be like 16.
Yeah, I'm not in that stage. I'm kind of like, yeah. So that is my take on it. I don't want to learn.
Yeah, I think from an outside perspective, it probably does look a bit more like a show for teenagers, which it might be. I don't know. I do like a lot of teen media just because I'm still in that.
You're a child.
Sort of like. Well, yeah, we're still in that young age range of like,
speak to yourself.
Like 16 to 25 type thing. Do you know what I mean?
I'm ready to commit crime.
Someone, my phone wallpaper for like ages when I was like 17 or 18 used to be like, be gay, do crimes.
No.
But
do you remember when like people had that period of time where they'd have a really good profile picture of themselves as their home screen? Do you remember this?
No, I've never done that. I had pictures of my friends, but like no.
Did that not reach Liverpool? There was like a period of time like
it probably did, but I just didn't look at other people's phones.
Oh.
They weren't me, so I wasn't interested in.
Was your background of you?
No, my background was normally of like me and a few friends.
Oh.
It was like a like group photo from like parties or something, or it was the be gay, do crimes thing. I just thought it was really funny, and I was like, yes, I will steal something and be gay.
Did you ever steal anything as a kid?
When I was police, if you're listening to this,
did you say please
don't
or
come
police?
For me. Police.
Okay.
When I was like 5 years old, I really wanted a Kinder Egg, and my mum was like, no, you've already had one today. So I opened the Kinder Egg in the queue, took the toy out and left it there. That's like the only thing I ever stole.
I remember as a kid a lot what I would do was, I don't know why. Maybe you did it as well. But I'd try and take the gift cards Not because they'd have anything on them, but just because I wanted the cards.
You wanted like a fake credit card, like
Yeah.
I'm rich.
So I'd keep taking those.
Yeah.
So
no,
I had a lot
never
of
wanted to
those.
take that.
I thought
think
maybe it was
just...
a thing that people went through.
No, I think you're just weird, Charis.
I was just like, these are shiny and they look like they have money, but they don't. Like, I knew that they didn't have money on them.
This actually relates to something we were talking about today with that tweet about like what are the insane things that go through your head that you just kind of go like, no, don't do that.
I once had a really weird thought on a bus where there was a guy with a really shiny bald head in front of me. This was a few years ago now.
Just slap it.
No, I wanted to lick it. Not because I wanted to taste it, but just because I wanted to freak him out.
Yeah,
I didn't know this man.
Right. People in the comments of that tweet kind of gave me a bit of an idea of why so my one, the one that I get the most in my head is I'll walk past a grid and I will see the grid and just be like, my phone can fit through that slot.
I will do
and like my brain is to like, what my idea is, if I put my phone through the slot and hold it with just my fingers, like just poking out the top, and then like my brain's like, drop it. Just drop it in. And like, I won't ever even get to the point of getting my phone out of my pocket. I'd like talk myself out of it every time I see a grid.
That's so weird.
But it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, and also like there was another one where like people were explaining it as if they said that their therapist had told them that a lot of the time when they have these thoughts, it's not because they want to do the action.
Yeah.
It's because they want to solve the problem that comes at the end of the action.
What?
And I'm like, yeah, okay, but that doesn't make sense when I'm given like a vase and told to hold it and my brain's like, throw it on the floor.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't. Like, I don't know. Because the thing is, I have a lot of dreams that are really, really stressful where I drop my phone from a really, really far distance, or like I lose things, or like I had a dream when I was like still had like art folders and stuff that I'd be on a bus and my art folder would just like slip under the doors of the bus and I'd just see all my artwork just like down the motorway or something. That's really stuck with me.
It was getting places, Charis.
I don't know, man. Like reoccurring dreams are really fucking wild, aren't they? Like I still have some that I can still think about today. Like there was a period of time where I was really scared of crayfish because I had a dream that a massive one chased me. But to get over that, I just ate a lot of seafood for a while because it made me feel like I was.
You know, just like
better
beat your fear.
Yeah.
Oh no! When I was younger, I used to have. I don't know what this means, and I've never looked it up because I'm terrified it means I'm like a murderer or something.
Oh, I'm gonna look it up. What is it?
So every dream, it was never a reoccurring specific dream, but every dream about halfway through, a hole would appear beneath me and I'd fall into the hole and then I'd sit in darkness for the rest of the night.
That's so weird.
Yeah, I would never finish. I would never finish a dream.
Get Out though.
I've never seen Get Out.
You never saw Get Out? What? It's really good.
I've been told,
really like it.
I think the problem is that someone told me the plot, and then I was like, "Oh, that sounds cool," but now I know what's happening, so I don't.
Oh, okay. So to dream of falling into a hole represents feeling about succumbing to problems you have difficulty getting yourself out of, getting too involved in a problem that traps you, worsening of troubles, feeling that a problem has been made worse than ever.
I feel like though the issue with these like ideas of what they mean is that I was never panicked falling into the hole. It just kind of happened and then there was darkness and nothing. And I just sort of like sat there humming to myself until the dream ended. And then I woke up and I was like, my day's begun, let's go.
Well, I think that just does mean that you're a sociopath. Like your brain gives you a nightmare and you're like, I don't fucking care.
No, I did used to have like proper nightmares, but they were always like one-off things that were like. Do
you not still get them? I have them all the time.
No, I think instead of having nightmares now, I have like actual fears.
Like what? Sorry.
So like, do you know, like instead of being like, oh no, a nightmare where something bad happens to me, it's like, oh no, I need to stay awake because someone's going to break into my house this evening. Do you know?
Wait, so
that type of feeling.
So sometimes in the evenings you'll just be like, someone's going to break into my house, and then you'll just sit there awake. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I didn't know this was becoming a therapy session for me, Charis.
It's not a therapy session. I'm just curious.
Yeah,
about
I guess
how
so.
you feel about that.
Mostly panicked when it happens, but in general, I don't know, because you know when it's not real. Like you there's like an innate sort of like, oh no, I know no one's going to break into my house. But there's the sort of like have you ever watched like a scary movie and you're lying in bed with your back to one half of your room, and your brain, like, you have this horrid feeling that someone stood directly behind you, but you know it's not true. But you don't want to give in to your brain and turn around and check, because that means you're insane. So you lie there, terrified, staring at one wall, believing that someone might be behind you, but they're probably not.
I probably at some point. I don't think I get that. I haven't had that in years, though. I don't think. I think mostly nowadays, I just think that I'm losing stuff all the time. Like, I was talking to my friend the other day.
Your biggest fear is like, oh no, my files.
Well,
where have they got?
I don't think it's about the actual thing that it is. I think it's like an actual representation of like, oh, I think I'm missing out on something, or oh, I think that I've given up an opportunity, or, you know, I think that's what it is.
Okay, so it's not losing like physical objects. It's like,
well, no, it is in the dream, but I think what it actually stands for is something else, if that makes sense.
Oh, sure.
Like, last night I had a dream I was running from a murderer. So, like...
Yeah, but that's because you watch murder programs on, like, a 24/7 basis. Yeah, but like, for you to not think that you're going to get murdered, it would be insane, Charis.
They chill me out, though.
Have you seen that thing going around recently about how people think?
Right, okay. So I'm confused about this, and this is a really good topic to bring up, by the way. So go ahead. You tell me your thing about it.
So what I've seen is that everyone thinks in different ways. Some people... So if you closed your eyes, I think... So the one that got me was that someone said, close your eyes and picture a ball on a table. And someone comes and pushes the ball. What happened to the ball?
It just hit the floor.
What colour was it?
It was blue.
What gender was the person that pushed it?
A man.
How did he push it?
Just like patted it with his hand.
What shape was the table?
Just like square. It was wooden.
You see, you had instant answers. Like, you knew exactly. Well, right,
okay,
no,
so I guess that means you have proved it for me, yeah.
So you, like, when you had an answer, I was reading this thing, and I was reading these questions, and I was like, the ball was red. It was a man that pushed it. He pushed it with his hand. The table was round and wooden. The floor, I could tell them the whole room, even though they'd asked me just to picture a man pushing a ball.
Yeah.
And then there was other people who were like, I'd have to think about what color the ball was.
What?
Because they when they think about things, they think of the concept of a ball being pushed. So they know that a ball, if you pushed it off a table, it would roll and hit the floor. They could answer that. But if you said who pushed it, they'd be like, a force. I don't know.
What? That is... And
it's a strange one. It's also the same. There's a similar one going around about like whether you think, do you hear like an inner monologue, or do you just kind of understand what's going on? And for me, I'm very much an inner monologue person. I have a voiceover at all times.
I don't at all times. So here's the thing. Why I find it so confusing is I feel like with the visual one, I can't imagine anything other than being able to think in full visual kind of thing, because that's just how it's always been. So I don't understand how people are saying otherwise. Not that I don't believe them. I'm just saying, like,
well, that's the thing, is the biggest thing that got me was when they said that people will always think in the way that they think, but you will never be able to comprehend the way someone else thinks about it, because you can't think that way. It's just not possible.
It's just like, it's difficult because you're never going to be able to prove that these are the different ways, if that makes sense.
I guess so. Well, I mean, you can prove your own way, but you can't prove that someone else.
Yeah, but then you can't prove, so it doesn't really make.
Yeah, it's really hard. The inner monologue one was interesting to me because a lot of people, I had to think about this quite a bit because I have an inner monologue, but the idea that, like, do you have like formed sentences in your head, or are you thinking of like the idea of those sentences?
So this is one that confuses me a bit because I do have an inner monologue and I can have conversations with myself in my head, and I can have things where like I am talking to myself in my head, or I can hear those full sentences in my head. But also, like, I guess when I'm talking to you now, like, there isn't a sentence going through my head first or anything like that. And also, when I started taking medication and stuff, my head was really clear, so I didn't really have many of those sentences or stuff going through as much.
Yeah, see, I think the idea though is that when you have like a thought, when you sit and say you're doing like a test and it says what's 2 times 2.
Yeah.
Does your brain go like, oh, what's 2 times 2?
Yes.
4. Yeah, you like read it and stuff.
Yeah.
Some people, when they read it, they sort of like the concept of adding numbers appears in their head and they get the answer, but they don't say what's 2 times 2 in their own head.
I think I can do it both ways.
They just kind of go like, ooh, 4.
I think I can do it both ways though. Like,
I think maybe the best way to explain it is that when you think, you know, when you like move an arm, you don't have to think about it. It's like an abstract idea in your head that you have to, like, if you had to be like, move arm.
I know this sounds, I think I can do it both ways. I think I can genuinely do it both. So.
Sure. Yeah. Maybe that probably is an option as well. It's just, it is one of those things where when I thought about it, I can't think without of the brain.
The brainiest by.
Yeah, well, like I can't think without having a conversation with myself in my own head. And it's not even a conversation with myself because it's not 2 ideas conversation. It's just like, well, it is when I want to put my phone down the grid, because one part of me is like, put the phone down the grid, and the other part is like, stop that bit.
No, but I know what you mean. It's just like you are thinking in full sentences through it.
Yes. I don't think in, and it's not like it's English. It's full English. I don't think in. Yeah.
No, I get what you mean.
Do you think maybe it's easier for people who don't think in full sentences to pick up languages since they're not thinking in English at all times?
I don't fucking know.
Because I don't want to do research into this because I don't care enough. But the idea
you care
that
enough to query.
Well, yeah. So like I'm currently learning Japanese because I'm going to Japan in a week.
Yeah.
And I'm doing quite well.
I totally want to talk about that, by the way.
Yeah. I've done the alphabet. I've done hiragana, katakana, and some kanji. I can read Japanese, and it's going quite well. I think that's quite good. But to think in Japanese seems impossible to me. But maybe the idea of thinking of concepts of things for other people, you wouldn't have to think of that in Japanese, would you?
Yeah, I guess so. But then again, because maybe you have a visual memory, would that help you more?
Maybe.
Like you learning words if you were looking at something.
Well, currently the way that like my brain is taking it, I'm doing a course that attributes a lot of hiragana and katakana to similar symbols. So the symbol for E is it's like 2 little lines, and the way they explained it to me is it's 2 eels sliding apart and stuff, and it's very like, like rudimentary type stuff, but it works a lot because when I see the symbols, my brain kind of connects them to mental images of
eel.
So like when I see the symbol of the E, my brain literally sees like 2 swimming eels in my own head, and I'm like, E.
In your head, so in your brain, there's a picture of 2 eels, and then the Ben voice in your brain goes, "Oh, it's E because it's eels."
No. The Ben voice gets confused and goes, "Ah, yes, worms."
I love that.
Snakies. Ooh, I love
What's
snakies.
What's things called? Worms. This is a W.
Yeah, no, it's been quite useful and stuff, that type of learning, the visual learning. But yeah, I think it's quite interesting the way that people think, and it's been quite interesting seeing other people's answers to these questions of like, what are your insane thoughts?
Honestly,
and if I tell you to picture an apple, do you picture an apple or do you picture the concept of an apple?
So it honestly, it's kind of confused me, a lot of it, like looking at it, because I'm just like,
Yeah, I think it's because a lot of people like, should I be thinking this way? Do I think this way? I think also it doesn't help that when they're like, picture an apple, which one do you see? And then there's a chart
with the fucking apples, and like,
yeah,
I can
and it's
see
like
all of them.
And the problem is, once I looked at the picture before I looked at the questions, when I pictured the apple, I just saw the chart of apples in my head. I was like, all of them. I don't. This question is tainted now. I can't not.
To me, I was just like, do I see emoji apple? The emoji apples in my head are like, but do I see a green apple with a spot of dew, like someone else said?
I was trying to individualize the apple. I was like, is it a pink lady or is it? I was like trying to think. I was like, anything but the one in the picture. I'm individual.
Yeah, and then when people were like in the comments saying, well, am I recalling it from memory? Am I recalling an apple from memory? Or am I inventing an apple? I was like, I can do both of these things. Can no one else do these things?
Yeah, I think, as I said, the one that clicked with me was the ball thing, because there was no visuals. There was just a sentence, and it was just like, picture a ball in your head. And then there was a lot of questions, and I went through it chronologically and then figured out what was happening instead of looking at the answer first and then doing all the questions.
What's been really weird is looking at, because like on my public Twitter, I follow a lot of like game artists and just artists in general, and a lot of them were like, oh, I don't see anything in my head. I was like, you what? So they're like, yeah, I just get to work and then I just make it on the page. There's nothing up here. Like, what do you mean there's nothing up there? Like, what? Isn't that, what? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And there's like some of these really, really big artists, and I was just like, what do you mean you don't see anything?
But I guess it just doesn't make sense for you because that's just not the way you think.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know enough about this to like this has probably been a really interesting pod to me, but like I can't elaborate because I'm like, I think this way and you also think the exact same way as me.
Yeah.
It's not like we have contrasting opinions on this. Like I see an apple and you're like, I see an apple. I'm like,
I talk
cool.
in my head.
We're the same.
In my head.
Yeah. Like it'd be nice. Reach out. If you think and you have a blank mind, we'd like to hear from you.
If you could fucking form a sentence with that blank brain.
Yeah. So you want to talk about Japan? Because I'm going in a week.
I did want to talk about Japan. I did. Yeah, okay. So I would like to know expectations. I would like to know what the plan is. Because how long are you there for?
So originally it was going to be 7 days, but that included travel. So we upped it to 9 so that I'm there for like 7 full days. And then there's 2 days of like traveling because it's a 13-hour flight. I think it's 14 hours with like a layover in Amsterdam.
Oh, yeah.
So the idea is on Saturday at 2:30 in the morning. So I don't think I'm sleeping on Saturday night. I'll probably sleep Friday daytime or something.
Okay.
I get up. I get a taxi to
Japan.
Birmingham. And then I get a flight from Birmingham to Amsterdam to Osaka. And then I get to Osaka at 7 in the morning on Sunday.
Oh my God, that's mad.
So I'm completely flying, or because they're 9 hours ahead.
Yeah.
And the flight's 13 hours. So I am literally traveling for like the equivalent of 25 or 6 hours. So I miss Saturday. I just don't have a Saturday. It's weird.
Wow. And you've chosen to get rid of this one day of your life just for Japan.
Because I hate Saturday. The plan is we don't know if that's the one day that we don't know if Nathan's working or not.
Wow, so, Nathan. Hear me. Get yourself together.
So the plan is that day that I'll settle in and we'll do whatever. And then we're going to go to the dog cafe or whatever and just chill.
Yeah.
Monday morning at 6 a.m. we are getting the bullet train into Tokyo. Takes about 2 hours.
Have you had a bullet train before?
No, I'm so ready.
I bet Nathan's gonna nerd out over it. Actually, no, 'cause he's already been there, hasn't he? So he doesn't care.
No,
anymore.
he's never been to Tokyo yet. He's been to Kyoto, but not Tokyo. And he didn't take the bullet train. He just takes the normal train.
Okay.
So, so the plan is bullet train to Tokyo, whole day in Tokyo, because we get there at 8 a.m. We're checking into. We've got a capsule hotel. It's the one that Sophia Nygaard stayed at. You know, the books one.
No, that's cool.
Yeah. We're going to that one.
I wonder if she signed the capsule.
I hope so.
Just to
so we're going to that one.
Sophia Nygaard, where did you sleep? I want to rest my head in the same place.
Where was Tyler? I need to be where he was.
Did you see their wedding, by the way? Incredible.
I did. Yeah, it was very
nice. I loved it.
So we get there, we're checking into the hotel, and then we're going to explore Tokyo. Basically the plan is that day is like doing whatever we want. Like if we see something and we want to do it, we're just going to do it. And it's also like scoping out other stuff.
Yeah.
Because when we looked up stuff, there's so much to do in Tokyo. Like an unreasonable amount of stuff. Like you'd never be able to do it all. Even with like weeks there.
How
it's like,
big is it compared to London? Like I'm sure it's the same kind of thing with London where it's like you can't do it all in a day. Like it's just not possible.
You probably couldn't do it all in a day based on just like a lot of it is shopping. Then day 2 is Tokyo Disneyland.
Okay. So do you have a set, like this thing and then this thing and then this thing? Do you have a timetable? Have you looked up alliers.net? Have you seen what they would recommend you to go
Alliers.net doesn't cover Tokyo Disneyland,
it's
unfortunately.
The same thing.
It's not, actually.
I know it's not the same thing. I'm fucking messing with you.
So
how
Tokyo
many
Disneyland
YouTube videos do you think I've watched? 1,000.
Well, Disneyland and Disney Sea in Tokyo have both been voted the best theme parks in the world. Like, not just the best Disney parks, like the best theme parks in the world.
But the rides aren't as good, but the theming is incredible, right?
Yeah. So, I've heard
that the cheap one. Tokyo was they didn't spend as much money on it.
Yeah, but then they did. So Disney Sea, they spent the most money on, but Disneyland, they just recreated Disneyland.
Yeah.
So Disneyland is the first one we're doing. We're gonna have a nice day, just kind of like because it's the same layout as America, so it'll be quite familiar to us. We'll know where we're going. We can go do like Space Mountain, Splash Mountain. Do you know like stuff that we know?
Yeah.
But also they've got like a Monsters Inc. ride. They've got
I've seen it and it's incredible because they don't speak in English.
Yes, that makes me so excited. I want to hear Mike Wazowski scream at me in Japanese. They've got loads of other stuff as well. And then day 2 is Disney Sea, which is the big one because there's nothing else like it in the world. They've got Journey to the Center of the Earth. They've got the Indiana Jones rides there. They've got Toy Story Mania, which apparently is the most popular in the park, but there's also like 4 of them in the world. And we've already done it. It's the exact same ride as the one in America. And if it's the most popular one in the park, we can just avoid having a big queue to not do a ride that we've already done before.
Yeah, fair play.
So we're going to try and do all like there's Journey to the Center of the Earth, 1,000 Leagues Under the Sea. There's
I would die. That's one of the things I want to do in my life is just walk around the outside of that ride. It looks so beautiful.
Oh, it looks stunning.
It's so pretty.
And then home on that day, and then back to next day is Tokyo, full day of Tokyo again, and then Friday is Thursday night we go back down to Osaka after doing. So we've done 2 days Tokyo, 2 days Tokyo Disney, and a day in Osaka already. We go back to Osaka, and then because Nathan's in Universal, I'm going to go to the Universal Park. Why not? We're like 2 minutes away from it. So we'll do Universal on Friday, and then Saturday, Sunday, and Monday is Nathan has planned days out in Osaka because I don't really know what's out there.
That's so cute.
And since he's been living there, he's just like, I need to take you to these restaurants, this mall. We'll do the Pokemon Center. We'll do Universal, and we'll do several other things. We might get a train down to Hiroshima. I don't know about that yet because that's another bullet train, and like it's another set of traveling in the like last 3 days we have. So the problem is it's Japan, and I've wanted to go for a very long time. So I have a lot I want to do, but I also know that I have a very short amount of time there, and it's not going to be the only time I'm going. So we're going to enjoy what we want to do this time. And then next time will be like everything else that we want to do that we didn't get to do this time.
Okay. I feel like that's a really lovely plan. Are you excited to see Nathan? Because how long you saw him Christmas, right? When did you see him?
He left on the 2nd of January, so it's been a month and 9 days. Yeah. Do you have any more topics or?
I do, but I think I'll say that for another time because I think we've been recording for like an hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah, and if you cut out some of it and then edit maybe the sad bits to not sound amazingly sad.
Yeah, that would be a good idea.
I think it's interesting though that both of us instantly, there was we knew it was a recording and we know this is probably going to get posted. And even though we are editing, there was no reservation of being like, yeah, we've been sad for like 2 months. You can do the outro, go on.
Hey guys.
What do we say in the outro?
I don't really know what we say in the outro, but I guess this is it now.
Just be like, thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Hopefully we should be back next week, but no promises because we're a little bit up in the air at the moment. But follow us on Twitter for any updates and short clips. And we also have a YouTube channel which clips are going up onto as well. So check us out there. Subscribe. And give us affirmation.
And let us know if you want merch. We are only on episode 4, but merch.
Are you serious? Can we do mouse mats? Money. I would like mouse mats.
Mouse mats would be fucking lit.
Iconic, because we know so many people with computers.
Oh, that would be so good. Please.
Guys, if you like our mouse mats, please respond to the poll on Twitter that will be going up.
Yeah, we'll put a poll on Twitter. And if you guys want mouse mats merch, then of course we will be putting out for you.
We don't promise another podcast episode, but we do promise mouse mats.
Mouse mat merch is the main priority in our life, right?
It's our collaboration with Disney.
Do not say that. They will come for us.
It's our collaboration with Disney.
Disney.
Disney. Isn't it busy?
I was going to combine Charis, Ben, and Disney, and I was like, business.
Yeah, that's what it spells. Yes, business.